Grand Admiral Nexus of the galactic hegemony stood tall, well, as tall as his 7-foot, tentacle-limbed body would allow aboard the command bridge of the inevitable doom. His translucent skin pulsed with bioluminescent patterns of superiority and anticipation. This was his 47th first contact, and they all ended the same way, at ease with the inferior species groveling for mercy before accepting their place in the grand hierarchy of the universe. Approaching the third planet, Admiral announced Navigation Officer Praxis, her voice modulator carefully calibrated to sound both efficient and terrified. The primitives call it Earth. Ha! They named their planet after dirt. Nexus flared his breathing membranes in what passed for a smile among the Quilarian species. Prepare the standard intimidation holograms. Let's see threat level assessment. Lieutenant Tarvik slid a data tablet across the command console. Primitive nuclear weapons. Fragmentary understanding of faster-than-light theory. No unified planetary government. Approximately 8.2 billion specimens. Recommendation. Intimidation Protocol Level 3. Only Level 3? Pathetic. Nexus stretched his primary tentacles and adjusted his ceremonial armor, encrusted with trophies from conquered worlds. Open the communication channel. Let's introduce ourselves to the newest servants of the hegemony. The massive view screen flickered to life, revealing a conference room filled with humans in various formal attire. They appeared calm. Too calm. Where was the gasping? The fainting? The immediate offers of surrender and tribute? People of Earth, Nexus began, his voice processed through the terror inducer to sound like grinding mountains and screaming stars. I am Grand Admiral Nexus of the galactic hegemony, conqueror of 46 civilizations, destroyer of the Andromeda Rebellion, and your new overlord. Your species has been evaluated and found worthy only of servitude. Resistance is... A strange sound interrupted his perfectly rehearsed speech. It started as a small snort from a red-haired human female, then spread through the room like a virus. They were laughing? Is there a malfunction in the translation matrix? Nexus demanded, slapping a nearby technician with a secondary tentacle. And no, Admiral, stammered the technician. They're receiving our message perfectly. A human stepped forward, a female with dark skin and silver-streaked hair pulled into a tight knot. Her uniform bore insignia that suggested authority. I'm Commander Abigail Stone, representing Earth's Unified Defense Initiative. Sorry for the reaction, but we've been monitoring your approach for weeks. Your intimidation hologram is actually quite similar to a popular children's cartoon here. The villain is named Squiddy McTentacles. She cleared her throat, fighting another smile. Perhaps we should start over? Nexus felt his chromatophores flush with rage purple. This is not how first contact proceeds. Your species is supposed to be terrified. Commander Stone shrugged casually. Yeah, we get that a lot. Look, we've detected your weapon systems. Impressive. Really. But before you go making threats, you might want to take a closer look at what you're dealing with. Is that a threat? Nexus leaned toward the screen. Just a friendly suggestion, Stone replied with an infuriating smile. We've surprised a lot of visitors over the years. Nexus slammed a tentacle on the command console. Enough. The hegemony does not negotiate with primitive species. You have 2 of your Earth rotations to prepare for surrender, or we will demonstrate our power on one of your smaller landmasses. Perhaps the one you call Australia. Rather than cowering, Commander Stone actually chuckled. Is that all? 2 whole days? How generous. As the transmission ended, Nexus turned to his second-in-command. What just happened? Why weren't they afraid? Lieutenant Vorax looked genuinely confused. I don't know, Admiral. This is unprecedented. For the first time in his illustrious career, Grand Admiral Nexus felt something unfamiliar tickling the back of his neural cluster. Doubt. Doubt. Dustries in my qualms, day. These is. They're laughing at us, and I will not tolerate it. Admiral Nexus paced the command deck, his tentacles leaving faint slime trails on the polished obsidian floor. Prepare the demonstration fleet. Let's show these dirt namers what real power looks like. Within hours, 5,000 warships emerged from hyperspace, arranging themselves in the hegemony's famous Death's Hand formation around Earth's orbit. Each vessel gleamed with the distinctive purple-black alloy harvested from dying stars, their silhouettes deliberately designed to evoke primal fear responses in carbon-based lifeforms. To re-establish communication with the humans, Nexus commanded, adjusting his posture to appear even taller, and activate the exterior illumination. I want them to see every ship. The view screen flickered back to life. Commander Stone appeared again, looking frustratingly unimpressed. Commander Stone, perhaps now you understand the futility of resistance? Nexus gestured grandly to the tactical display showing the hegemony fleet surrounding Earth. Each of these vessels carries enough firepower to reduce your largest cities to radioactive ash. Our flagship alone, the glorious inevitable Doom, houses the stellar compressor, capable of collapsing your planet's core into a dwarf star. Stone nodded politely, as though Nexus were describing a mildly interesting weather forecast. Impressive engineering. Though rather energy inefficient, wouldn't you say? Nexus sputtered, his chromatophores cycling through confused color patterns. Lieutenant Vorax, educate these primitives on their own defenses. Lieutenant Vorax stepped forward, his four eyes blinking in perfect sequence as he consulted his data tablet. Earth's military capabilities are laughable. Chemically propelled projectiles, primitive nuclear fission devices, rudimentary energy shields that couldn't stop a Class II meteorite. Your largest military installation, what you call the Pentagon, could be vaporized by our smallest scout ship. Commander Stone sipped from a cup of what sensor readings identified as coffee before responding. That's what your scans show, huh? Interesting. Your pathetic attempts at bravado are wasting my valuable time. Nexus slammed both primary tentacles down. Here is your choice, humans, complete surrender, with humanity serving as worker class within the hegemony or planetary extinction. You have 48 hours to prepare your surrender documents. For a brief moment, Stone's expression flickered with what Nexus hoped was fear. But then that infuriating smile returned. We'll need those 48 hours to consider your generous offer, Admiral. Though I should warn you, humanity doesn't respond well to ultimatums. We're funny that way. Funny? Nexus leaned toward the screen. I will show you funny when I turn your oceans into steam. Yes, oceans into steam. Very creative. Stone checked her watch. If that's all, we have some preparations to make. After the transmission ended, Navigation Officer Praxis approached cautiously. Admiral, permission to speak freely? What is it? Nexus snapped. I've analyzed their communication patterns. They seem to be stalling for time. Nexus made a dismissive gesture with his secondary tentacles. Let them stall. What can they possibly accomplish in 2 rotations? Lieutenant Vorax, maintain surveillance. I want to know if they so much as launch a single primitive rocket. Yes, Admiral, Vorax replied, already directing sensor arrays toward Earth. Though I must say, these humans are behaving most unusually. All previous species at this development stage responded with either immediate surrender or futile military mobilization. That's because they're in denial, Nexus declared confidently. Soon enough, they'll be begging for mercy, just like all the others. But as he gazed at the blue-green planet on the view screen, a small voice in the back of his neural cluster whispered a warning. These humans aren't like the others. Admiral, you need to see this, Lieutenant Vorax said, his voice tinged with confusion. Our surveillance drones are reporting unusual activity. Nexus glided to the main observation deck, where holographic projections displayed images from major human population centers. Tokyo, New York, Lagos, Sydney. To his astonishment, humans were simply going about their daily lives. Street vendors hawked their wares. Children played in parks. The entertainment venues remained packed. What is the meaning of this? Nexus demanded, his color-changing skin now pulsing with angry crimson flashes. We have 5,000 warships surrounding their planet. They should be panicking, rioting, repairing their pathetic nuclear arsenals. Science Officer Quasar, a spindly-formed being with an oversized cranium, adjusted her sensory implants. Most peculiar, Admiral. According to our behavioral models, this species should be experiencing collective psychological distress. Instead, they appear to be ignoring us? Impossible. Nexus slammed a tentacle against the railing, denting the reinforced metal. Nobody ignores the hegemony. There is one anomaly, Quasar continued, bringing up a new set of readings. Our sensors are detecting unusual energy signatures around their polar regions. It could be some sort of primitive defense system, but the energy pattern doesn't match any known weapon technology. Nexus waved dismissively. Probably their power grid experiencing fluctuations due to increased usage. The fools are likely glued to their information networks, spreading conspiracy theories about how they might survive. Perhaps, Quasar muttered, not sounding entirely convinced. Though these readings are unlike anything in our database. They're in denial, declared Strategic Officer Marlex, a veteran of 12 planetary conquests. We've seen this before with primitive species. They cannot comprehend the reality of their situation, so they retreat into illogical behavior patterns. Or they're simply irrational, suggested Navigation Officer Praxis. Our xenopsychology database indicates humans make decisions based on emotional responses rather than logical assessment. Nexus nodded, satisfied with these explanations. Continue surveillance. Document their behavior for the hegemony archives. Future conquerors will study the peculiar response of humans to inevitable doom. Meanwhile, on Earth, in a bunker 2 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains, Commander Abigail Stone was engaged in a very different conversation. Status report, she demanded, addressing holographic representatives from Earth's 7 defense sectors. European sector ready, reported General Kowalski. Ghost shield generators at 97% capacity. The hegemony's scans are bouncing off our dummy infrastructure exactly as planned. Asian sector standing by, added Admiral Tanaka. Quantum disruptors embedded in all major seismic fault lines. If they try to hit us with those fancy gravity weapons, they're in for a surprise. African sector green across the board, continued General Okafor. Atmospheric scramblers deployed. Their targeting systems won't know what hit them. One by one, each sector confirmed readiness. Stone allowed herself a small smile as she studied the real-time hologram showing the hegemony fleet completely unaware of what awaited them. They still think we're just a bunch of primitive apes with rockets, she remarked, shaking her head. 50 years of reverse engineering crashed scout ships, and they have no idea what we've learned. Should we reveal our hand? Asked General Kowalski. Show them what we're really capable of? Stone's expression hardened. Not yet. Let them think we're in denial. Let them get complacent. She checked the countdown timer on her wrist display. 26 hours until their deadline. That gives us plenty of time to finish our little surprise. 36 hours have passed, and still no response from the humans, Lieutenant Vorax reported, his 4 eyes blinking in an agitated pattern. They haven't even attempted to communicate with us since our ultimatum. Admiral Nexus's tentacles coiled and uncoiled in irritation. Their arrogance is unprecedented. Perhaps a small demonstration of our power will accelerate their decision-making process. What did you have in mind, Admiral? Asked Weapons Officer Terax, her chitinous fingers already hovering over the tactical console. Target their Antarctic research stations, Nexus commanded. Minimal casualties, maximum psychological impact. Deploy a squadron of precision strikers. Level 4 plasma weaponry only. An excellent choice, Admiral. Terax responded with what passed for enthusiasm among her species. The humans value their scientific outposts disproportionately. Destroying them should provoke the desired response. Within minutes, 20 sleek attack vessels detached from the main fleet. Their obsidian hulls reflected no light as they descended through Earth's upper atmosphere, their advanced stealth systems rendering them invisible to what the hegemony believed were Earth's primitive detection methods. Strike force approaching target, announced Terax. Weapons hot. Impact in 30 seconds. Nexus leaned forward, anticipating the satisfying explosions that would soon decorate the planet's southernmost continent. But what happened next made his central heart skip a beat. "Sir, we're losing telemetry from the strike force," exclaimed Terrax, her fingers frantically dancing across the console. "Weapons systems are going offline. Navigation is failing. What in the seven moons is happening?" On the main view screen, the attack ships began to wobble in flight. Several veered off course, while others simply hung motionless in the air as if caught in invisible webs. "Science Officer Quasar, explanation now," Nexus demanded, his skin flashing anxious patterns of yellow and orange. Quasar stared at her readings in disbelief. "It appears the humans have deployed some sort of adaptive electromagnetic pulse technology. It's precisely calibrated to our ship's operating frequencies, which should be impossible. They shouldn't even know what frequencies we use." "Impossible or not, it's happening," growled Nexus. "Terrax, order the strike force to abort and return to—" Before he could finish, the view screen showed 3 of the attack vessels plummeting from the sky, crashing into the empty ice fields below. Others spun wildly, their engines sputtering and failing. "They're sitting ducks," Lieutenant Vorax exclaimed, forgetting for a moment that no one else would understand the Earth idiom he'd accidentally absorbed from monitoring human communications. As if on cue, the surface of Antarctica lit up with dozens of previously hidden weapon emplacements. Beams of concentrated energy technology the hegemony had believed was centuries beyond human capability lanced upward, slicing through the disabled attack ships with surgical precision. "Full retreat," Nexus bellowed. "Get the remaining ships out of there immediately." But it was too late. Within minutes, the entire strike force had been neutralized. Not a single vessel returned to the fleet. An uncomfortable silence fell over the command bridge, broken only by the soft beeping of consoles and the nervous breathing of the crew. "How?" Nexus finally whispered. "How did they know exactly how to disable our systems?" Lieutenant Vorax's voice was uncharacteristically subdued. "Admiral, I believe we may have underestimated the humans." "Incoming transmission from Earth," announced Communications Officer Zenix. The view screen flickered to life, revealing Commander Stone's face. She wasn't smiling now, her expression serious and determined. "That was your one free shot, Admiral Nexus," she said calmly. "I suggest you reconsider your position before you lose more than just 20 ships." Before Nexus could respond, the transmission cut out. "Did she just threaten us?" Terrax asked, mandibles clicking in agitation. "Worse," replied Nexus, a cold feeling spreading through his neural cluster. "I think she just warned us." "This is unprecedented." Strategic Officer Marlex pounded the obsidian war table with his armored fist. "We've conquered 46 species across 3 galactic arms, and not once has a level 3 civilization managed to neutralize our attack force." Admiral Nexus had convened an emergency war council aboard the Inevitable Doom. Around the table sat the highest-ranking officers of the hegemony fleet, their faces illuminated by the holographic display of Earth rotating slowly in their midst. "Remember the Proxians?" offered Navigation Officer Praxis. "When we surrounded their homeworld, they immediately sacrificed their outer colonies as a peace offering." "Or the Zentari," added Weapons Officer Terrax. "They tried to fight back with their primitive fusion bombs, following the exact defensive protocols our simulations predicted. We disabled their entire military infrastructure in 6 hours." Lieutenant Vorax nodded. "Every species follows predictable patterns when threatened. Thus, the Javorians surrendered. The Krith attempted diplomatic negotiations. The Eulaxians launched their entire arsenal at once, depleting their resources in a single, futile attack. But these humans," Nexus's voice trailed off as he stared at the hologram of Earth. "They're behaving irrationally." Science Officer Quasar cleared her throat nervously. "Actually, Admiral, I may have discovered why." She tapped her data tablet, and the hologram shifted to show a series of waveform patterns. "These are communication signals we detected from Earth 57 years ago. And these," she swiped to reveal another set, "are signals from our own scout ships that were mapping this sector 48 years ago." The War Council leaned forward, studying the patterns. "They're identical," gasped Marlex. "Not identical," corrected Quasar. "The human signals evolved over time, adapting and incorporating elements of our communication protocols. Admiral, I believe they've been studying us, studying all alien signals they could detect for decades. They weren't supposed to understand our technology, but they've been learning." "Why? Nas. Reverse engineering, preparing." "That's absurd," scoffed Terax. "No species prepares for a threat they don't know exists." "Except humans apparently do," Vorax said quietly. "I've been analyzing their entertainment media. They're obsessed with the concept of alien invasions. They've been psychologically preparing for this encounter for over a century." A heavy silence fell over the War Council. Nexus felt his secondary hearts beating faster than normal. "It doesn't matter," he finally declared. "They may have surprised us with one defensive measure, but they cannot stand against the full might of the hegemony. I am ordering a full-scale invasion. All ships. All weapons. We will crush this resistance immediately." "Admiral," Quasar ventured cautiously, "given what we've seen, perhaps we should reconsider." "Are you suggesting we retreat?" Nexus's skin flashed dangerous patterns of dominance. "When primitives who named their planet after dirt? The hegemony does not retreat. Ever." "Of course not, Admiral," Quasar backpedaled quickly. "I merely suggest caution. These humans have demonstrated unexpected adaptability. Their adaptability is precisely why we must strike now, before they adapt further," Nexus insisted. "Prepare all ships for combat. We attack in 3 hours." As the council dispersed, Lieutenant Vorax lingered behind. "Something troubles you, Lieutenant?" Nexus asked. "Permission to speak freely, Admiral?" "Granted. I've been studying human military history. Their greatest strategists, Sun Tzu, Clausewitz, Hatton, all emphasize one quality above all others: unpredictability. Humans value it, cultivate it, celebrate it." Vorax's 4 eyes blinked nervously. "What if their apparent irrationality is actually their greatest weapon?" Nexus considered this for a moment, then dismissed it with a wave of his tentacle. "Unpredictability is chaos, and chaos cannot defeat order. The hegemony has brought order to the galaxy for 10,000 years. These humans are merely the latest species to learn this lesson." But as Vorax departed, Nexus found himself staring at the holographic Earth, wondering what other surprises the Dirt Namers might have in store. "All ships, commence Operation Inevitable Subjugation," Admiral Nexus commanded, his voice resonating through the communication network connecting all 5,000 hegemony warships. Standard conquest formation. Primary targets are their military installations, followed by government centers, then population hubs. Victory is assured. The massive fleet descended toward Earth in perfect geometric patterns, the product of 10,000 years of military evolution. Nexus watched from the command bridge of the inevitable doom as the first wave of 2,000 warships entered Earth's atmosphere, their weapons primed and targeting systems locked on human military bases. "First wave has penetrated atmospheric defenses," reported Weapons Officer Terax. "Resistance detected. Beginning primary target acquisition." Nexus allowed himself a small surge of satisfaction. The earlier setback had clearly been a fluke, a single defensive measure the humans had stumbled upon. Now they would experience the true might of the hegemony. "Sir," Lieutenant Vorax suddenly exclaimed, energy readings appearing worldwide, thousands of them. "They're not coming from military bases or known defense installations. They're everywhere." On the tactical display, tiny pinpricks of light began to appear across Earth's surface in mountains, deserts, beneath oceans, even in what appeared to be civilian areas. "Impossible," Nexus bellowed. "Their defense network should be centralized around their military command structures." "It's not," Science Officer Quasar replied, her voice tinged with awe. "It's completely decentralized. Each node appears to be operating independently, yet somehow coordinating with the others." Before Nexus could process this information, The seemingly insignificant pinpricks of light erupted into action. From the middle of what appeared to be an ordinary farm in Kansas, a massive energy beam sliced through 3 hegemony destroyers. From beneath the waters of Lake Victoria, automated defense platforms launched swarms of miniature drones that attached themselves to hegemony ships, boring through their hulls. Evasive maneuvers, screamed Terrax, but the command came too late. The tactical display became a chaotic light show as hegemony ships began falling by the dozens, then hundreds. Their perfect formation, designed for maximum efficiency against centralized resistance, had turned into a perfect target for the humans' dispersed defenses. "This is Commander Stone to hegemony forces," came a transmission from what appeared to be an ordinary suburban house in Perth, Australia. "As you can see, we've been expecting you. For decades, actually. Each of Earth's 9 billion citizens is part of our defense network. That farm that just took out your destroyers? The farmer's daughter designed those energy cannons for her science fair project last year, won first place." On another screen, Nexus watched in horror as a small fishing boat off the coast of Vietnam launched what appeared to be harpoons that transformed mid-flight into plasma-guided missiles that unerringly found the engine cores of 12 hegemony cruisers. "Admiral," Vorax shouted above the chaos, "our ships are following standard invasion protocols, but the humans aren't defending according to any known military doctrine. They're using, I believe they call it guerrilla tactics, but on a planetary scale." A hegemony dreadnought exploded spectacularly as it was caught in crossfire from what appeared to be defense systems hidden in the Amazon rainforest and the Sahara Desert areas the hegemony had classified as strategically insignificant. "Order the fleet to regroup and target these dispersed defense systems," Nexus commanded, his skin now flashing distress patterns. "We can't target them all, there are too many," Terrax responded, her usual confidence shattered. "And they keep changing positions. Our targeting systems can't keep up with their mobility." As Nexus watched his carefully orchestrated invasion crumble into chaos, a strange sensation crept through his neural clusters, something he had never experienced in his 300 years of military service. Respect, and beneath it, something even more alien to him. Fear. "These humans," he whispered, more to himself than to his panicking crew. "They didn't just prepare for invasion. They reimagined planetary defense itself." Status report. Admiral Nexus demanded, though the catastrophic display on the tactical screens told the story clearly enough. Lieutenant Vorax's voice was hollow as he reported, "We've lost over 2,000 ships, Admiral. Half the invasion fleet gone, to tactics that our battle simulators classify as primitive and simplistic." The command bridge of the inevitable doom had fallen eerily quiet, the usual bustle of efficient alien conquest replaced by the stunned silence of unprecedented defeat. Nexus stared at the tactical display, his mind struggling to process how a Level 3 civilization had decimated the galaxy's most feared armada in under 2 hours. "How?" he finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "How are they doing this?" "Their weapons aren't particularly advanced," Science Officer Quasar replied, bewilderment evident in her tone. "They're just using them in ways we never anticipated. They're adapting our own technology against us and deploying it in patterns that defy military logic. It's as if they're not playing by the rules of warfare at all." "Established communication with their command center," announced Communications Officer Zenix suddenly. "Commander Stone is requesting to speak with you directly, Admiral." On screen, Nexus growled, drawing himself up to his full height. Commander Stone appeared, no longer in the formal meeting room of their first encounter, but in what appeared to be a battle command center. Behind her, humans worked calmly and efficiently at various stations. "Admiral Nexus," she greeted him with maddening composure. "I thought we should talk." "You have committed an act of war against the hegemony." Nexus bellowed, his tentacles writhing with rage. "This resistance is futile. We still have thousands of ships that will." "Actually," Stone interrupted, "I wanted to inform you of something you might find interesting." She gestured to someone off-screen, and the view shifted to show a complex array of communication equipment. "Since your arrival, we've been broadcasting everything: your threats, your attack, and your current defeat on all known alien communication frequencies. Nexus felt his three hearts stutter in sequence. What? Oh yes, Stone continued, a small smile playing at her lips. The Zentari Confederation is watching. So are the Proxians, even the Javorians, who you subjugated 80 years ago. They're all seeing the mighty hegemony brought to its knees by, what did you call us? Primitives who named their planet after dirt? The implications crashed down on Nexus like a collapsing star, but the hegemony maintained control through fear and a carefully cultivated reputation for invincibility. If word spread that they had been defeated by a level 3 civilization. You've been playing a different game all along, Nexus realized aloud. This wasn't just about defending your planet. This was about breaking our reputation. Stone's expression turned serious. Precisely, Admiral. Humanity doesn't just fight battles. We fight perceptions. And as of now, the perception across the galaxy is that the hegemony can be beaten. She leaned forward slightly. The question is, what happens next? For the first time in his long career, Grand Admiral Nexus found himself without a pre-planned response from the Hegemony Conquest Manual. Cut the transmission, Admiral Nexus ordered, his voice cold with fury. The smug face of Commander Stone vanished from the view screen, but her words continued to echo in his mind. The hegemony beaten? Impossible. Unthinkable. Unacceptable. Admiral Lieutenant Vorax ventured cautiously, perhaps we should consider a strategic withdrawal to regroup and… Withdraw? Withdraw? Nexus's skin flashed crimson with rage. In 10,000 years, the hegemony has never retreated from battle. We will not start now because of some dirt-dwelling bipeds with lucky defenses. He turned to Weapons Officer Terax. Prepare the stellar compressor. Target their largest population center. If we cannot conquer them, we will make an example of them so horrifying that no species will dare resist us again. But Admiral Science Officer Quasar protested, the stellar compressor has never been used on an inhabited world. The Hegemony Council specifically prohibited. I am the hegemony here. Nexus roared, his tentacles lashing out and knocking a junior officer across the command bridge. Commence firing sequence now. Terrified crew members rushed to comply, initiating the complex sequence that would power up the inevitable Doom's planet killer weapon. On the tactical display, the remaining hegemony ships moved into position to protect the flagship during the vulnerable charging process. Stellar compressor at 15% charge, reported Terax. 20% 30. Admiral Nexus watched with grim satisfaction as the massive weapon began to glow with ominous energy. Let the humans broadcast this to the galaxy. Let all species witness the price of defiance. 40% 50% Terax continued. Suddenly, every light on the command bridge flickered. The charging sound of the stellar compressor sputtered and died. What's happening? Nexus demanded. Before anyone could answer, every screen on the bridge changed to display the same image, Commander Stone, now standing in what appeared to be an ordinary office with a cup of coffee in her hand. Sorry to interrupt your tantrum, Admiral, she said conversationally, but we can't let you fire that thing. Bad for the environment, you understand. How are you on all our screens? How did you stop the compressor? Nexus sputtered in disbelief. Stone took a casual sip from her mug. That's our final surprise, Admiral. While you were busy threatening us, we were busy too. Those communications signals we've been studying for decades? We didn't just study them. We learned to replicate them, modify them, and yes, hack them. She nodded to someone off-screen, and suddenly every display on the command bridge began scrolling with hegemony command codes, access protocols, and security overrides. We've been in your system since before you arrived, Stone explained. Every transmission you've sent, every order you've given, every tactic you've planned, we've known it all. We could have destroyed your entire fleet in the first hour, but that wasn't our goal. Nexus felt his exoskeleton go cold. Then what was your goal? To change the rules, Stone replied simply. The hegemony has dominated through fear for too long. That ends today. She set down her coffee cup and leaned forward. Here are our terms. The hegemony will acknowledge Earth as a sovereign power and humans as equals. You will release all subjugated species who wish independence. In return, we won't destroy your remaining ships. And we won't share the extremely embarrassing footage of your defeat with every corner of the galaxy. This is blackmail, Nexus hissed. This is diplomacy, Stone corrected. Something the hegemony should try sometime. Lieutenant Vorax approached Nexus, speaking in a low voice. Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from the fleet. Several captains are questioning the wisdom of continuing this battle. Mutiny? Nexus gasped. They're calling it strategic reassessment, Vorax replied delicately. News of our defeat is already spreading through our own ranks. The humans made sure of that. Nexus stared at the image of Commander Stone, who waited patiently for his response. In his 10,000 years of recorded hegemony history, no admiral had ever surrendered. But then again, no admiral had ever faced humans before. Very well, he finally said, deflating visibly. The hegemony accepts your terms. Stone nodded. Excellent choice, Admiral. Now, shall we discuss the details of our new relationship? I think you'll find humans make much better allies than enemies. As negotiations began, Nexus found himself wondering how the galaxy would change now that humans had entered the interstellar community. One thing was certain, nothing would ever be the same again. And somewhere deep in his neural cluster, beyond the humiliation and defeat, a small part of him was almost excited. After millennia of predictable conquests, the universe had just become interesting again. Perhaps these dirt namers had something to teach the stars after all.